Real estate prices have exploded over the last 4 years, making real estate in itself a barrier to entry. If you can afford it, then you have limited houses to choose from and many other buyers to compete against. In the past, real estate has been considered the steady eddy of investments where it pretty consistently appreciates about 3 to 5% per year with pretty minimal risk. With prices increasing by about 47% since 2020, it's causing a lot of people to question if this investment is still worth it or if it's one giant bubble that's about to burst. In this video, I go over if real estate is still worth it or if you should wait a few years before you jump into it for when it's going to be worth it again. Please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and we'll go ahead and jump into the video right now. When it comes to real estate, it's important to note that real estate has cycles. Knowing where you are in the cycle can help you determine what comes next and if it's a smart time to buy or if you should wait to then buy. The tricky part of real estate cycles is it's nearly impossible to determine how long a given cycle will last. But at least if you know the signs of where you are in the cycle, then you can make a well-informed decision of what comes next. So what makes me qualified to talk about real estate cycles anyway? I'm a licensed real estate agent here in New Hampshire as well as Massachusetts. I presently own $1.5 million in real estate, and I monitor these trends on a pretty regular, consistent basis, so that way I can advise future clients on what for some is the largest purchase of their life. So what are the different cycles and where are we now? When determining where we are now, it's important to first go over the different stages of a real estate cycle. First, you start off with oversupply. Oversupply on the market is when there's far too much inventory available, far exceeding the demand and the amount of buyers that you actually have. Think of the 08 or 09 when we had all those houses flood the market. This was almost opposite of where we are today, where you had multiple houses to choose from. Housing sat on the market for much longer than you currently have now, and you could generally negotiate the price of a house down, and it was considered a buyer's market at that point in time. This led to high vacancies for the same reason. Renters had many houses to choose from and there were far too many available, so a lot of them sat on the market stagnant for extended periods of time. Now, when you have many houses to choose from for buying or renting, it causes those prices to decline or to remain competitive. Construction will also slow as there are not many people buying houses, so it doesn't really make sense for builders to build if no one's going to even buy them. This generally is what leads to a normalized market where the supply meets the demand and there's no real draw one way or the other. Due to builders not building, prices declining, and the population growing, the inventory gets absorbed and we start to see a shift headed back to where we started. Now that the inventory is absorbed and no new inventory is hitting the market, we see low vacancies and inventory on the market as a result. Less inventory and vacancies mean we can start to increase rent and prices as there is less on the market for buyers to choose from. Now that we have houses getting more expensive and rents increasing due to the lack of supply, people still need a place to live, so they're open to spending more. This is also a similar time when you see builders start to build more houses to help meet that demand as well. Accelerated new construction leads to oversupply, and this is where the cycle starts again. Now, once again, each one of these stages can vary in length, and there's no real way to tell how long a given stage or cycle will last. However, knowing where you are in the cycle can be immensely helpful when determining if it's a good idea to buy or rent. I know there's a lot of holes in that statement as we need a place to live and perfectly timing the market cycle can take a few years. So with that being said, there are a few key factors to consider with the housing market as a whole that can save you thousands of dollars. By buying in the bottom half of the cycle when prices have declined due to the excess supply, it allows you to take advantage of the lower prices and gives you more options to choose from. Buying at this level allows you to negotiate easier as the ball is really in your court, within reason. I say within reason because some people take this too far in the opposite direction and think this means lowballing everything under the sun. I understand this can come off a little bit perfect world scenario, and if you follow buying in the bottom half of the cycle to a T, you might be sitting on the sidelines for a while. So there are a few ways you can go about buying to give yourself the best odds of a good return no matter what stage of the cycle you're in. And this is first buying great real estate in a good location. You can get a great deal in a great area by buying a house that needs some work, a house that has gross cabinets, carpets, walls, kitchens, bathrooms, stuff like this. Nowadays, people want a fixer-upper, a turnkey property, a move-in ready house. By buying one of these properties that have good bones but are neglected, it allows you to minimize your competition and increase your margin of safety, as you likely got it for a good deal as a result of this neglect. And the second would be holding on to the real estate as long as possible. There's a saying in real estate that goes, don't wait to buy real estate and wait. And that's the exact reasoning of why. Over time, real estate does trend upwards 3 to 5%, but it's important to note that's on average. So some years it might be up 25% and then others down 15%. So the longer that you actually hold, the lower your risk is and the more average you'll partake in. If you flip houses which have short-term time horizons, then your risk is very high, as the prices could decline by 10% if you're stuck holding the property for. And a 10% decline in a given year is extremely possible. We saw this happen recently with the pandemic. All the areas that blew up significantly during that time period saw a pretty significant decline in prices shortly thereafter, New York being one of those places. Now, it's normalized since, but that's a good example of a time where prices did decline, and if you were stuck holding that bag for a short term, it can definitely hurt you and wipe out your initial investment. So in short, we are presently at the top of the real estate market cycle. We have increased rent and prices and have accelerated construction currently. As far as when this will lead to oversupply is anyone's guess. If you're buying right now, make sure you're building in a margin for safety by having a longer time horizon and buying in good locations for a great price. I hope you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and drop a comment down below of what your strategy is in this market and where you think we are in that cycle. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and check out one of my other videos over here.